Back again, part 2 of this vlog. This is going to take a while, isn't it? I'll try and rush it up. Right, part 2. I'd got to the point of puberty. Puberty, didn't I? So, for me, puberty, very important part for everyone, male, female, whatever. This is, I'm going to try and read from here and, you know, ramble on, but, what I've written. Puberty is the fucker. I conclude puberty is absolutely the most crucial part for any child. What happens, what attracts you, how your family unit works, all these things are vital to talk about and to keep an eye on when, as a family unit. If pieces of that don't work and you don't talk about your thoughts during puberty to your family or whatever, it's a big deal, I think, you know, it really is. It's more important than, I don't know, taking you through the nappy stage, even, arguably. But it's difficult. Teenagers are moody, they isolate, confused, they're angry. It's a shitty time for most kids. I haven't met anyone who says they really enjoyed it. It's a tough time. And with everyone, you know, their hormones are kicking in at different times. So, from what they say, women, you know, it kicks in earlier than it does with guys. The guys at school, when I was going into high school, I was 11 years old, and my pubic hair was coming through, and I was very, very worried that my pubic hair wouldn't come through properly. Just crazy thoughts, you know, that only half was going to come through and the other half would be skin, and I don't know, I was just very, very confused with all that. But on the flip side, being a teenager was exciting for me, so because this is my vlog, this is my life. Through the late 80s, early 90s, music was really eclectic and innovative. And we had disco dancing was in with the girls, more the girls, and break dancing, more the guys. And I was doing break dancing, into, you know, the electro rock. We had a little break dance team as a kid. That was cool. It kept me fit. Had a good idea of rhythm. Not the best dancer, but you know. And then as a teenager, we had grunge was coming in. The whole dance music scene was kicking in. It was amazing, you know. So we had grunge, rock, house, techno, so many good bands. All these genres were just sort of coming at you. Amazing, incredible bands in the 90s, early 90s. I wrote here, I learned about 14. I got into hip hop, and it was something I wasn't too keen on before. Never to judge genre of music. Give it a chance. If it sounds alien, no matter how bad it sounds initially, you know, keep an open mind. And that's what I did. Written here, my mates, we all had eclectic tastes. We were going from like heavy metal to Leonard Cohen to Pink Floyd. I was going to classical music, to the Smiths, to dance music, to goth, to just everything. You know, there was so much, and it wasn't just the music of that day. We were going from that day backwards, really. So we were getting a really good variation of music coming in. Music's that simple to me that sort of you can argue about who's the genius artist of the decade or the time, but there's only good, mediocre, and bad music. Then there's the real genius stuff, you know. But essentially there's good and bad music. That's it. My point is, keep an open mind. So from a teenager, here we go into my teenage puberty point. which is I knew I was gay, and as a teenager, I've written here, without a doubt, being gay was a curse. My opinion. Don't let any gay men try to tell you otherwise. Utter bullshit. It is a fucking curse. It's a hex. Another way to make one feel like they don't belong. Especially if you're slightly sensitive. I knew what I liked and what it was. I was not entirely confused, though it is confusing to explain. I liked men. I knew I liked older men. I liked masculinity. And this is me, you know, at this point of 11, realizing what I liked. I liked muscle. I liked masculinity, strength. It was that simple to me, and I recognized it. Sexual thoughts molded a large part of my mind, and I hate it for what it put me through. What it still puts me through. A counsellor or a therapist may be able to shed light and make me see the brighter side of it all. But, you know, right now I sort of look at it as still a negative, more than a positive. That isn't to say that I'm uncomfortable with who I am and what I am with my sexuality. I just found it a really negative, dare I say hex, a curse. So there I am, sort of 10, 11, I knew I was attracted to men, the male physical body. I was not into the cock. This idea that you tell someone you're gay, and this still remains the same 2020, so this was back, you know, when I was 10, 11 years old, so it was only the late 80s, and I knew adamantly that I liked the male physical body, no doubt. The cock and the bum and the idea of sticking a cock in a hole, no, that wasn't me. That just wasn't me. I never got it, you know. And so I wrote here, I'm obsessed with the male physical body. Most male teenagers were supposedly getting the craving for vagina and tits. I wasn't. I spent every day during my teenage life, and I did spend a lot of time, like many teenagers, masturbating. I was masturbating about strong, old, virile, masculine physiques, strength, the arms, biceps, the chest, the brawn and the power of it all. Something that I wanted to touch and sort of admire. I had a huge, yeah, I did. I shouldn't be embarrassed about this. I had a huge crush on John Thaw, who's Inspector Morse. Yeah, that John Thaw. And it was weird. It was a real big thing. It came through a dream, and it came as attraction on the television show. And I sort of fell in love with him in a way. There I was, like 11, 12 years old. 11, I think. And it hit me hard. The music to the television show was a bit melancholy and classical, a really beautiful classical score. But it was John himself. It was the white hair, the silver fox sort of look. I wrote to John Thaw. I got his agent's address, and I wrote to John Thaw. My God. I fell for a couple of men in town locally. One being a taxi driver and another one who worked in the local pub. I will not name names. Some people will find my sexual attraction odd. I don't give a shit. I can explain it maybe later on, but my main sort of mate at school was a guy called Dave Cuthbert, who's no longer with us sadly, but he knew about my John Thaw obsession. We used to go at lunchtime, we'd go from the high school down into town and buy music and things. And I went and bought the Inspector Morse soundtrack, and I told him about my John Thaw thing and that I'm going to write to him, and I think he just found it oddly amusing. I don't think we discussed the term gay at that point when I was 11, but he just found it amusing. Dave was a bit of a moody, black, moody guy. He could be snippy, and I was a chirpy kind of guy, you know. I never understood his black moods. I've written here. Yeah, I do now. I really do now. And again, you know, he's going through the same puberty thing. He was dealing with deep, dark depression, black thoughts when he was going through his teenage puberty years, and that followed him throughout his life in many different ways. But my point with this segment, puberty is very difficult. Through video games, I'd started to get into computers big time. It was a big thing for me as a kid. Through video games, I started a little business where I was putting an advert in a magazine and mixing and matching people with their game they wanted to swap and the game they wanted, and I was charging them like £5 for this, and I had this book of matching them up, and then this involved a lot of phone calls and things, but they would send me the game with a postal order and I would send them the game they requested, so it sort of worked in a roundabout way, except the phone bill was high, but my dad was kind of proud of me. I was well into video games at that point, just gone through the Commodore and the Amiga stage, and the console industry was coming in, so it was Mega Drive and then Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, Japanese version came in. See, I'll get all geeky now on video games, but that was sort of a deal for me. That was my, instead of doing a paper round, that was my income. You know, I was making my pocket money that way, and I had a little job in the local shop stacking shelves, which I hated and I was never very good at. The boss was a right arsehole. He was a slave driver, you know, getting a kid to do this work for like £1 an hour or something, I don't know. So that's me for the moment, because the next stage I'm going to go on to is you know, I went through high school. The sexuality was there with me. I knew I was gay, and I'd accepted it. I'd accepted that. I hadn't quite at this stage yet worried about telling people. There was kids at school, at the high school, the boys who were, you know, they had the titty magazines and the vagina magazines, and they were showing each other this and I guess I just feigned. I just said, well, yeah, it's great, but you know, that was their thing, and I could not see the fascination of sticking your cock into this ugly looking hairy vagina. And nor, as I say, was the cock ever a thought for me, of wanting to touch another male's penis. It just wasn't the first thing that came to mind. But I knew I was gay. I knew I liked men. So I'll leave this segment there, because after that we'll be going on to me leaving school. Alright, if you followed this far, you're amazing.